They crushed it. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the sequel to the very successful, widely beloved, and visually dazzling Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This time around, there's a super secret society of super Spider-Mans, and Miles Morales is like, I'm not a part of that. There's a new villain called Spot. He's causing problems. More development with Miles Morales, and all the visual bedazzlement the first movie had that you're hoping the second movie has, and absolutely, yes, it has it. And you know what I liked about this film? Actually, what I really appreciated about this film is it's Across the Spider-Verse. We've all heard about these Spider-Man's cameos. Spider-Man's, or Spider-Man or Spider-Man's. His name is Spider-Man, so I'm gonna go ahead and say Spider-Man's plural. But lots of cameos, right? All the Spider-Man cameos. Scarlet Spider cameo. Admittedly, as a Ben Reilly fan, totally cool with that. Or 90s Ben Reilly fan, anyway. And they could have rested on that. They could have been like, cameos, Easter eggs, those are fun, that carries the film. Also, we're gonna blow their synapses out of the water with the visuals, so that's enough. We don't need more. And it has fun with that, absolutely. It has fun with the Easter eggs and the visuals. It just blows your hair back, but it doesn't lean on it too much. If it didn't have the Easter eggs, it still would have been an amazing film. That's what that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be icing on the cake, not the whole cake. I was actually surprised in the first hour or so in this film, you get some web slinging, absolutely. But for the most part, the heart and soul of it, it's some really personal family dynamic going on here. Miles Morales as well as Gwen Stacy. A lot more Gwen Stacy and her world, her life, than I was expecting from this film. I appreciate that because that's the real question in a superhero film is how engaging is the film when costumes are not at play, when you're dealing with the humans behind the mask? And the answer here is very. It's very engaging. This movie's a gripping character piece that's also a superhero movie, which those are my favorite superhero movies. You know in Into the Spider-Verse, how Nicolas Cage as Noir Spider-Man kind of stole the show and he was amazing in that respect? This time around, it's Daniel Kaluuya voicing Hobie. The world just needs more Hobie in everything. They actually do a very interesting thing with the villain in here. Spot, which the concept of ally and enemy is a very complex issue in here, which I feel is Spider-Man to the core. It's a very Spider-Man theme, and it's in here. It's alive and well in here, but Spot is one of those enemies, could have been so dumb, just comes across as a freak of the week villain in a TV series somewhere. And then this villain just grows as a problem and now is a huge problem and is actually kind of amazing. Granted, the animation absolutely aids in making Spot work. It's part of the magic of the Spider-Verse animation. And now we get to talk about that animation, which is so unique. It kind of reminds me of the first time I saw The Matrix, where you walk out of The Matrix, you're like, visually that was just on another level. And only The Matrix feels like The Matrix. A very unique experience. Then other movies are like, hey, we'll incorporate some Matrix tactics into our movies. And that's awesome because that's a film that changes the industry. But still, even after that, only The Matrix feels like The Matrix. Same as Spider-Verse. You've seen other animations incorporate Spider-Verse style animation in their animations, but only a Spider-Verse film apparently feels like Spider-Verse. It's like you can take any frame from Across the Spider-Verse. Granted, you can take any frame from Into the Spider-Verse as well, but for the sake of this video, in which this is a review for Across the Spider-Verse, right, you can blindly grab any frame from this movie and be like, yep, gonna blow that up, that's a painting that's in my house, and it'll look amazing. Also, the visuals of the world work in tandem with the character they're telling the story of. Like, when you're with Gwen Stacy in her world, it looks like the Spider-Gwen comic, at least how I remember it looking. Then you're with Miles Morales and it looks different than that, so it gives the visual style more character. Just outside the action, the world itself has a visual aesthetic that's unique. It has its own flavor based on the character they're telling the story of at the time in the moment. Now, I'll be honest with you, I found out that this movie clocks in at 2 hours and 20 minutes. Essentially, when I was at the theater about to watch the film, I was like, oh man, is that gonna feel too long? We're all a product of our experience. And lately, when a movie clocks in at 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2.5 hours, it generally feels too long. I always walk out of that movie being like, they could have shaved time. I did not feel like that here. When this movie ends, and it ends on that note of, that's where you end? I can't wait for the third movie. Fuck yeah. I mean, I can't see the future, don't have a crystal ball or anything, but I'm just saying, that was definitely the feeling at the time. That's the feeling I'm going to hold to until I'm in the theater watching the third film. That's gonna stick with me. But the other feeling I got was I could have actually been in this chair after 2.5 hours of watching this movie, and they could have just rolled me into the next film for another 2.5 hours And I would have been cool with that. Guys, in the end, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is one word: epic. The voice acting is amazing. Oscar Isaac as Miguel, Spider-Man 2099. Dude, the action feels intense, it feels fast, it feels heavy. It's a fun action film, absolutely, but one that doesn't rely on the multiverse for the sake of multiverse. We've seen that a lot. It's like multiverse, because multiverse. Why? Multiverse versus that multi, because it's awesome. This uses the multiverse in a way that has personal stakes with the main character involved. It's an animation that shows how animation hits differently than live action, but also shows why, in some cases, animation is just the better way to go. It's a comic book movie that entertains you when the great comic book shit is going down, but it's also a relatable character piece with Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales, and that's what's important. I'm gonna remember this theatrical experience, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is awesome-tacular. I genuinely cannot wait for the third film. Alright, so Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, have you seen it, or which one do you prefer? Do you prefer Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse? Whatever you think, comment below, let me know, and as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.